All right, so welcome to the Canucks Chatter podcast. I'm your host, Rafal. With me here is Victor. So we are doing a weekly Vancouver Canucks podcast, talking about all things Canucks and any of the top news that happens around the NHL. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to get this going here. Perfect time. Just what are we, about a week and a half, just over a week away, yeah, from playoffs. So pretty excited. How do you feel, Vic?
Oh, I'm excited as a long time diehard Canucks fan. It's been a decade of nothing but a heartache. Had that other than that one bubble year, it's been a long time coming. Can't wait for these playoffs to start in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it has been a long time. It's nice to kind of, feel the buzz in the city. It's a little bit different, Now everyone kind of wants to talk about the Canucks and what's going on. So let's take a look back at the season. I think we had this conversation before, but what was your mind at, when the season started? Did you think the Canucks were a playoff team, or where did you have them?
I had them as a playoff team, but on the bubble, they are going to be fighting out for that wild card spot the whole year.
Mm.
They're like up and down, and with enough stars just to barely squeak in and at the last minute and be able to celebrate a playoff run. But man, to get that great start to get out of the year is great, and it just kept building and building to where they are. Where even though they've slumped a little bit here they've had built such a cushion throughout the year, and it
Mm.
hasn't been by fluke either. They've been playing well all year, and deservedly they are in the right position they are right now.
Yeah, agreed. Um, yeah, I kind of felt like last year was kind of, I mean, it was an awful year for off the Canucks, but I mean, I kind of felt like that was they almost underachieved last year. Like they played worse than the team actually was. And I mean, this year's kind of the opposite. Like everyone's hitting. Like Besser's, scoring goals. Hughes is, always been good, but he's taken it to another level. JT Miller's taken it to another level. Um, I feel like not long ago there was talk of like, where does Connor Garland fit on the team? What's his role, and is he going to be a big contributor? And like, kind of the way I see it now, he's outside of maybe their big guns, he's one of their most important players.
Yeah, he's been a play driver all year. Considering it probably last year at this time, people could have got Besser and Garland for cheap,
Mm.
and now they're essential players on this team that don't know where they would be without either one of these. With Brock on the top line and Garland fitting in that middle six, just driving the third line at the beginning of the year, and now playing on the second line, whether it's with Miller or Pedersen. Just a big season from him. Him is showing that he is a very good top end player in this league.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's also crazy to think like maybe I don't know. Canucks have been at the top of the division for so long. Earlier on, it kind of felt like, okay, maybe some people thought maybe they're gonna kind of, go back down to where everybody thought they were, but they've been consistent. They've been there the whole time. As of right now, looks like they're gonna finish there unless, Edmonton kind of goes on a tear and barely loses and, beats Canucks in the one. I think they have one game remaining, don't they? Canucks
Yeah,
and Oilers.
they play
Yeah.
Saturday. So if the Canucks go 2-2, and the Oilers will need to go 5-1 to beat the Canucks for the division lead.
Right. So highly, highly unlikely.
Yeah, the Canucks don't have an easy schedule, but it's not one of the hardest ones either.
No, that's true. It's kind of somewhere between, right? Because they face, some big teams.
And Edmonton's got a tough schedule, and 6 games in the next week and a bit is a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially now with McDavid being slightly injured. So we'll see how that turns out for them.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, you can just do a whole show on Edmonton's turnaround. That was insane. Going from they had 3 wins in the first, I don't know, felt like almost 15 games or something like that, and then they go on this big tear.
I hate giving them credit. Like, I don't think they beat many teams during that 16-game winning streak, but it's still very hard to win 16 games in a row.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's I mean, like, there's bad teams out there, but like if you play an off night on a bad team, like they can still pump you and they can still win a game.
Yeah. What if a goalie goes lights out? That can happen all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And that's gonna be interesting for the playoffs. So let's see which
Yeah.
goalie is gonna go
Yeah.
lights out.
Yeah. Enough of that Edmonton team. You We've given them too much credit already.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. So for the Canucks, they are already clinched a spot, probably going to get the division. If we take a look at where the other teams are going to fall, I mean, if the playoffs if the playoffs started right now, they'd be facing the Nashville Predators. It's up pretty much between Nashville, the Vegas Golden Knights, or possibly the LA Kings. Yeah, no, there's no easy team, but like I don't know, who do you feel would be the team you'd like to face the most?
In my order, it'd be Vegas, Nashville, and LA. Hey, LA just is not a good fit for this Vancouver team. Just there's no room to skate out there, and that defensive trap system just seems to puzzle the Canucks' whole structure, and don't really want to play them. And Nashville, well, they might not have the high end talent, but of the three teams there, they have the best goalie. They have a legit top 5, top 10 goalie in Saros, and not that Vegas is easy. I don't want to play them any of the three teams, but Canucks match up better with Vegas. It's where they can handle the physicality and speed, and Canucks would definitely have the better goaltending, especially if Bubble Demko shows up to play. And Bubble Demko almost beat a way better Knights team back in the bubble year.
Right. Yeah. Um. I don't know. I feel like they have a chance to do pretty well against Nashville. I don't know. Vegas just kind of scares me because I mean they haven't been playing great, but like just some of the players on their team, from Jack Eichel to you got Barbashev, you got big guys on the back end. They don't have Mark Stone now, but who knows what happens come playoff time.
Yeah. I
But
was at the game last night, and
yeah,
yeah, they were scary. Eichel
yeah,
just dominated for the first period. It seemed like he was out there every other shift. If the puck was on a string, but the Canucks stayed true to their system and kind of just neutralized them where he wasn't as dangerous once they got into the flow of the game a little bit more. Vegas is not an easy out, and they are the defending champs. So until they're beat, they're the team. They're one of the top teams to beat.
yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. I still think they're up there despite where they are in the standings. I think one of the things that I mean, I guess a lot of people, this past couple weeks were getting a little worried about the Canucks. A couple of losses to L.A., Vegas before, but last night's game was definitely big for Vancouver and their confidence, right? To be like, okay, we can go toe to toe and win these tight games against a good team, and also I kind of find that a lot of people were impressed by Vancouver. Anytime Vegas went up, Canucks would score and kind of answer right back, and then ended up taking a lead at the end of the second. But one of the big things that stuck out to me was that third period. Is that you went into a third period. It's kind of like a playoff thing. Like when you have a 1-goal lead in the playoffs, you have to find a way to shut it down. You have to find a way to not let the other team score and get back in that game, right? And they did that. I think. I mean, that's big.
Yeah, yeah. Like we were watching the game. We're saying third period, just want an uneventful third period, very little happening, but still put the pressure on. You don't want Vegas shooting at you for a whole 20 minutes, especially with a rookie goaltender who's your third stringer. And they kept the pressure on. They didn't give up any 5 alarm chances. And when there was a chance, Sealaws was there to make the save. And this was the team that's been around for most of the year, where when it gets tough, they shut the other team down, and chances were gone. It was just simple saves, no room. That's the Canucks team that's been around for pretty much the whole season. It was nice to see them reappear again.
Yeah. No, it was good. Um, so do you? I don't know if there's come playoff time. We know Demko's been injured, and he's seems close to returning. Is there any worry that like, hey, this guy hasn't played hockey for some time, that he's gonna come in kind of cold, and what does that do to his play and maybe the Canucks' confidence in front of him?
With other goalies, I would. Even if it was Patrick Roy, I'd have the same worry. But Demko last year missed months, and then as soon as soon as he came back, he was right back to looking like regular Demko again.
Mm.
And then that breeds a lot of confidence, at least in myself. And we know how this team plays so well in front of him, and he just gives the team an extra boost of confidence. So when when he comes back from this injury and is able to play as long as he's healthy, and we're going to see bubble Demko in the playoffs hopefully, because that we know he's got a playoff track record which is pretty high. It's small sample size, but he showed he is ready when the chips are down. He has shown it time after time that he is a money goaltender.
Yeah, and I mean, if Canucks have any hope of getting further in the playoffs, yeah, he's gonna have to be a big part, right? I think that's just a staple of any hockey team. You can't win games if your goaltender's not making the saves, and I think they're hopefully pretty well set up with him in net. Um, Over these next few games that they have left, what are you looking to see from the Canucks? What's most important? Is it getting the wins? Is it making sure guys get some rest and healthy and ready to go for the playoffs, or what do you
I
think?
want them to get that structure back that we've had for most of the year. They're like the last month, which coincides with Demko being out. The structure hasn't been there, whether it's taking silly penalties or allowing cross crease passes. Yesterday's second goal was a prime example where Myers went in the corner to chase another guy who was already covered, and then Susie, who had Eichel covered on the other side, just wandered into the middle away from Eichel for some reason, and the pass went straight through, and Eichel had an open net to shoot at.
Hmm.
And so if they get rid of the small mistakes, get that structure back it'll make it a lot easier for Demko to come back, or even if God forbid he doesn't make it back for game one, whether it's Sealodge or DeSmith, if they get that structure, which has been the big word all season for this team, in there, they'll they'll be able to compete.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with that. Um, all right, so where do you want to go next? Do you have anything pressing that you wanna talk about with the Canucks?
Let's preview the playoffs to see. It's been great. Just get these playoffs started. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it has. It's been a while since the Canucks were last in the playoffs. I must have wondered too if other teams that are playing Vancouver, for the other playoff teams, you kind of have a sense of what they might look like come playoff time. With the Canucks, it's almost like because they haven't that core hasn't outside of the bubble, which is a little different. Let's face it. Um, we don't know what this team's going to be like in a playoff atmosphere, in a playoff type series, and that maybe goes against Canucks' favor in some ways, but on the flip side, maybe other teams are like, well, we don't know how this team's going to be like in the playoffs. Are they going to have that same structured intensity, or are they going to have struggle, with the added, with less ice out there and things like that? Like, I don't know. What, like, do you think that helps them, or it doesn't help them?
A little bit both. The youthful exuberance will be great. They're going to be all excited, and they do have enough veterans with guys like Ian Cole, who has lots of playoff experience, Stanley Cup winner. Teddy Bluger has a Stanley Cup. JT Miller's played in the playoffs before. So if they're not completely bare of a playoff experience outside the bubble, they have some guys that they can lean on. You can go to Rick Tocchet. He's a Stanley Cup winner. He's played many years in the playoffs. He's been through it all. Adam Foote went through many years in the playoffs with the Colorado, going all the way and having those battles with Detroit. Right, they might not their star players might not have the most experience, but their supporting cast will will be able to help them out and tell them what to expect, and just help them keep them loose. And that's when this team plays their best. And I feel it's a little. Sometimes everything just hits, and this could be the year where everything falls into place. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to win 16 games somehow.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's they always say you kind of gotta get hot at the right time. If sometimes there's gonna be a great team, but if you have just one bad week in April, you could be out, right? Like
Yeah.
we've seen it so many times where good hockey teams kind of are out in the first round. I mean, that's probably going to happen this year. If we're looking at some of the matchups, there's going to be some really cup contenders that are going to go home unhappy after round one.
Yeah.
Um,
And that first round look at those first round series in the West where Dallas, Winnipeg, and Colorado, one of those three teams isn't going to make it out of the first round.
yeah,
And between Vancouver, Vegas, LA, and Edmonton, one of those four teams isn't going to make it out.
yeah. I think we talked about this before, but like, man, sometimes you just wish they went back to that 1 versus 8 format. Made it a little to kind of avoid these matchups, but doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. So, who is there any part of the Canucks right now? I mean, they had the great game in Vegas last night, but before that, things were maybe not the greatest. Everyone had a little bit of panic going. Because I think was it the last 20 something days they were a 500 team. Is there any worry about like is there an aspect of the team that you're like you're curious on how they're going to play in the playoffs? Whether it's their for me, maybe it's kind of what you said earlier, the structure, right? Like when they play with structure and you play that same type of game, like your your odds are just getting better, right? You limit your mistakes and play well. Like are you scared that that's the big thing that may hinder them in the playoffs if it doesn't go right?
Yeah, it's two things mainly. I think it's going to be structure and injuries. He's like
Right.
getting Demko back is going to be big. Like is he coming back at 8% or 90%, 100%? So that's one of the biggest ones. Is he's the team's best penalty killer, and the penalty killer has been inconsistent of late. And why? Because the best penalty killer's injured. Right, and with Lindholm
Right.
not able to play, that's another part of the penalty kill and defensive structure or that's missing. So injury is going to be a big part that coincides with everything. Teddy Bluger has been great as a third line center for majority of the year, but he he's made sometimes a little out of his depth as a third line center.
What do we think of Lindholm here? Like of an injury and that maybe affected him, since he's came to Vancouver. Like, do you see him as like that third line center, or do you feel like from what they gave up, does he have to play top six?
From what they gave up, probably top six, but I kind of don't mind him being the third line center because now he can take either the toughest matchups or the second toughest matchups. That frees up Pedersen and Miller or defensive matchups, and that's going to be give them a little bit of room. Room is Lindholm, even though he was hurt, he wasn't providing much offensively. Defensively, he was very solid, limiting chances at times, and not sure what his injury is, but he played through it as much as he could and was doing what he could do to produce offense, which wasn't much, but defensively he's fine. So if he comes back healthy for the playoffs, at he can cause matchup problems, whether it's checking or scoring. As he's proven that he's a very reliable player in this league, and if he's healthy, this brings a whole different dimension to the team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, like obviously you want that offense, but I think defensively, he's been great. He's been doing well, and you know, um, we see. I guess we'll see when he. I think he's close to coming back. I believe. An ideal world, you'd love to get him and Demko, a couple games before the season ends to kind of get back into the game rhythm. Um, it, other than the Canucks, if we start looking at maybe the rest of the Western Conference, is there another series that you're kind of like interested in seeing what happens, or
That's
catches your eye?
remember that 2-3 matchup in the Central, whether it's Dallas or Colorado facing Winnipeg. Ooh, that is going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah,
The Central Division, those three teams are very illegal, but just like how it is out in the Pacific, like the 7 teams there are all really high end skilled teams and can play really well. And some just to make it to the second round, a couple of those teams are not going to be able to make it. It's going to be impossible.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Colorado, Winnipeg right now is what it's looking like. Yeah, that's pretty close to being locked in there. It's going to be Colorado, Winnipeg, and Dallas. Probably. I mean, the wild card kind of keeps changing there. Yeah, Colorado. I don't know. I still they had a down playoff year last year, obviously, but they're still a great team. Even without Landeskog, Evan McKinnon, McCarr, it's
They made a great trade at the deadline, trading Byram for Middlestat. Middlestat now gives them a second line center.
yeah, that's a big one. And I think with the research, look at Devon Taves there, and on top of McCarr and their back end, I think they kind of be like, okay, well, we can give up Bowen Byram.
Yeah, and Josh Manson there, and they're a deep team.
Yeah, deep team. So sometimes you wonder about their goaltending, though. But
Yeah,
you know,
for them, Grigoriev's been great all season until this last month, and then all of a sudden their backup Annanen's been lights out. So it seems like one guy drops the ball and the other guy picks it up, and that's the Colorado way. It seems like.
yeah, and there's a couple goalies in the NHL where you can kind of look at like a Hellebuck. Before that there was Price and that that
Yeah,
yeah,
Shesterkin.
Shesterkin as well. That are just gonna be that guy that you never have to worry about and that'll steal you some games. But over the last few years, you look at some of the Stanley Cup winners. It's kind of been maybe a string of goalies. Like Vegas last year, they went through a few goalies and eventually got in Aiden Hill and
Yes, they used 7 goalies last year.
yeah. See, that's crazy, and I think every team would love to have that one guy that's they feel comfortable, like a Vasilevsky. That was another name, right? He was
Yeah.
back-to-back cups, but most teams don't have that, you know what I mean? And you can still win without that. So I think that kind of gives some teams maybe some confidence, be like, oh, okay, if a goalie gets hot, it gets hot, right?
Yeah. In this day and age, you need at least 2 goalies now. There are
Exactly.
very few teams that just don't have a backup that they trust. Like
Yeah.
Nashville might be one of them. Like if something happened to Saros, do they trust Lankinen as their backup?
Right. Yeah, probably. Well, not as much as Saros, that's for sure.
Yeah, same with Edmonton. Can they even trust Stuart Skinner?
Yeah, I think that's if we're looking at Edmonton, that's probably on top of their defense as well. It's their defense and goaltending. I don't think you're going to worry about their offense when you got their top 6 like that. But their goaltending, Skinner, like he's played great, give him credit, but like come playoff time, like you have no idea what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, he wasn't bad last year in the playoffs, but he didn't do enough to win them more.
Yeah, he was. And you're gonna need, if you're gonna make a run, you need your goalie to steal some games. Just to, maybe it could just, even one game a series can be the difference. If your goalie just steals a game, maybe you're playing every other night and you can't, you don't have your best game. You play your B+ game or whatever, but your goalie comes up big. That could steal you a win, right?
Yeah, Aiden Hill got hot out at the end of last year. He's carried it on to this year, but previously you're thinking, oh, Aiden Hill's a backup. I'm not trusting him, but
right.
He proved very trustworthy.
Yeah, well, he played great. I mean, Vegas was a really good team. So was we've talked a lot about the Canucks, talked about the West. I don't know how much you followed the East, but when I mean this playoff race right now, there is it's pretty crazy. You know, you got Washington, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Philadelphia, all within a point or two of each other. Um, Man, I don't know who's gonna make it. Is there a?
Pittsburgh was out of it about 2 weeks ago.
I know they were like gone. There was no way.
Yeah.
But Philadelphia went on a 6-game losing streak. Washington 6-game losing streak. I mean, that's got to be tough for Philadelphia. I mean, they were in a playoff spot for so long, and then now this losing streak rather at the worst possible time.
And where did this Pittsburgh come from? It pretty much, it looks like it's Sydney's and Malkin, Letang rewinding the clock back 10 years.
Yeah, man, when you have a player like Sidney Crosby that can just put a team on his back, I mean, I guess you can just never count them out. But yeah, it looked really bleak. Bad loss. I mean, not bad loss. I thought they played a good game, but tough loss to Toronto last night, where they tied it up pretty late and lost in overtime. You know, I wonder if that point.
And he couldn't play, and he didn't even play in the overtime.
Yeah, there was some talk about that. Why didn't he put him out there? Apparently, it was a skate issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had to get a new skate, and they couldn't get it in time. And by the time he did, I think it was Matthews deliberately broke his skate.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I got to break his skate here so he doesn't come out on overtime.
Yeah, cheating Leafs. We all know that the Leafs for that.
Yeah, if that was the case, I think they would be getting out of the first round more than they have in the past 10 years.
That division is insane with the 4 teams. Boston and Florida ran away with it for most of the year.
Yeah.
And now Tampa and Toronto are catching them.
Well, Boston's going to win the division. Like, that's, you know, unless they lose all the rest of their games and Florida wins all theirs, Boston's finishing first in the division. Florida and Toronto. Still looks like Florida's going to take it, but and you know, Toronto and Florida do play each other one more time, so that could be interesting. And then the other part of it is Tampa Bay, a team that everyone was kind of like, no, they're not the same anymore, and like, you know, for sure they don't have that same supporting cast. But I think over the last month or two, they've been like the best team in the NHL.
Yeah, Tampa's been back to their old selves in a way.
Yeah,
They're winning it differently now. Now it's not just the run and gun. It's interesting to see them adapt like this.
Yeah, I mean, Kucherov is, oh man, he is playing like something else. Like, he's put that, like, that's he's pulling a Crosby there. He's putting him on their back. You know, he's 120 something, 130 points right now.
In the Hart Trophy race, he'd probably be top 5, but not up there with the McKinnons and McDavids.
I don't know. This year, I think he's up there. I mean, I wouldn't say he's, you know, a McKinnon, McDavid type of player, but
yeah, I'd say Crosby's way up there, especially if they make the playoffs.
With factoring on
and Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole race. Like, Matthews scored again today. He's at 66 goals now. He's got the most goals in a season from any active NHL player right now. That was previously held by Ovechkin at 65, and I think it was, I don't know which year that was, a while ago.
Yeah, it's more impressive now that scoring 60, 70 goals in this era when there's goaltending, and back in the 80s and early 90s, and there was very little goaltending.
Yeah, there's half a net to shoot at when you're coming down the wing, as opposed to now there's,
goalie, if you see some of those goals Gretzky scored back in the day, a little snapper along the ice would somehow go in.
That's never happening.
You let a goal in like that, you're going to the minors very quickly.
Yeah, no, he had 90 goals in a season, right? Yeah. 200 points. That's never happening. Yeah, with the way goalies are now.
Yeah, it's still super hard to score 92 goals, and I don't think it'll ever be done, but goaltending was poor back in the day.
Yeah, it's totally different. Completely different now. Different style. It's butterfly. It's there's hybrids. There's everything. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't
think there are many cigarette smoking goalies anymore.
No, I don't think there's. It's, you know, back in the day you had your summers off. You know, as players, and now it's you're having a couple weeks off and you're going right back to training, getting prepared for next year.
Guy Lafleur smoking during the intermission.
Yeah. Yeah. Nowadays, there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah. Can you imagine
Can't take
JT Miller during intermission smoking a dart?
a couple darts there between. I don't know. He looks like a little
Yeah.
feisty. Maybe he is.
Hey, if
um,
it helps him keep scoring and winning,
yeah.
I'll buy him a pack of Marlboros.
Yeah. No kidding. He's played great. I think going back to the Canucks, if I'm like the two heartbeats of this team, I find it's JT Miller and Quinn Hughes. Like they're it's JT Miller resurgence in a weird way is kind of like you look at last year and people were kind of complaining and like, oh, he's too he's too angry or fiery and things like that. And nowadays it's like they love that fireness about him because the team's doing well. Um,
His his lack he did it last year. His defensive game was definitely weak as he would often just float away, not back check. You would see him not moving his feet, and been a lot less of that this year.
right.
There,
Yeah.
I for one, back a couple years ago, did not like the that deal for him. I thought they should have kept Bo Horvat and traded Miller away, but I'm more than glad to take. I took the L on that take.
Right.
Miller's proven that he's a high end top line player, and I could say that contract right now is looking very good.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's gonna look good. I think a lot of people thought that too. A lot of people are like, why didn't you keep Horvat? But in the end, yeah, it definitely worked out for them. Um, yeah, there's exciting. What is the? I guess they haven't really released the playoff date yet, but it's
April
under 2 weeks.
22nd, I believe, or
Could be
so. That
something like that.
yeah.
Definitely could be. Yeah, there's for the Hart Trophy. Who would you say is your pick or your
I'd have to go with McKinnon. He's just been lights out all year long. Yes, he's carried that team, and the amount of points and goals he has scored, and he's just been out of this world. Well, like McDavid and Matthews are also deserve a lot of attention, but just to me, what McKinnon's done is just been amazing. He plays such a hard physical game as well. Well, and
yeah.
yes, you he's you can't stop him. Him and McDavid are the two best players in the league, and I just they're you just have to contain them and hope they don't kill you with their speed and skill.
Yeah. For me, there's no question. McKinnon and McDavid I mean, Matthews as well. They're the best players in the league. I don't know. I think it's a tough one. You can't really go wrong. But I'm looking at Kucherov as well. Leads the league in points. He has factored in the he kind of single-handedly like helped the Lightning get into the playoffs. It's feeling like the amount of points he's had, he's factored on the most percentage of the goals of any player in the league. But you can't go wrong. McKinnon's been great. McDavid looks like he might get 100 assists. Matthews, if Matthews gets to 70, it's hard to not to give it to him either, too, right?
Yeah, if you go by the criteria of the trophy, most valuable to his team,
To his team.
it should be a goalie every year, right?
Yeah, that's true as well. They're playing a
But
full 60 minutes, so but
yeah, but obviously that either I think it's going to be one of the two centers in McDavid or McKinnon winning the Hart, and the Norris it's between Hughes and Makar. I think, yeah, I'm biased, but I think Hughes has just been another level where Makar hasn't been as elite, his usual super elite self. He's been elite, but not he hasn't dictated pace like he has
mhm.
usual years.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, he's. I think most people are giving it to Hughes. He's played great.
Yeah, yeah. Makar set the bar for himself so high,
Yeah,
and if he
he's.
doesn't meet that bar, and even though he has a great year, like that's not killing Makar. Like, he's better than pretty much every other defenseman. But this year, he's number two. Quinn has just been off the charts. No one saw him. He didn't take one step up. He probably took 4 steps up from his level of play.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's been. I think hands down, everyone's got him to win the Norris. I don't know how you don't. It's. it's going to be interesting to see how everything unfolds, and you know, just a week away from knowing the playoff matchups, and probably a week and a half away from the playoffs actually starting. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Canucks next game, I believe, is against is it Arizona? Arizona, yeah. So we'll see that. Okay, I think that wraps up this show. Yeah, till the next episode next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, do that. Subscribe. Give us a like, follow, all that stuff. Let the people know that you listen to us and like the show.
You can follow me on Twitter at somedeviant.
Oh boy, what is even my Twitter handle? I don't know. I think it's at Rafal Douglas. If not, then you know you'll have to catch me another time. Just follow him then. There you go. All right.